welcome to another conversation for inspiration. My guest today is someone who exemplifies positivity, but is not afraid to get her hands dirty. And she's going to talk to us about how we can promote positivity within our own communities and make an impact. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Hannah Joy Gebresilassie, and I'm just super honored to be here today. I'm so proud of our dear sister, Sarah, and all that she's doing. Truly an inspiration and amazing to see you continue to thrive. But like she was saying, I'm the founder of the Promote Positivity Movement, which is basically a group working to raise awareness on various causes and advocate for our community. So we focus on empowerment, we focus on fighting for justice, we focus on providing relief and support for our brothers and sisters experiencing hardships, and a lot more. In addition to that, I run an independent media platform, Hannah Joy TV. I started off working in television broadcast and then transitioned about a couple of years ago. So that's what I'm doing now, and lots of community work. So really excited to be here and so proud of you, Sada, again. And thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me tonight. And so, yes, you talked about promote positivity. That's more of a global, your mission is a global mission, right? It's not just within the United States that you want to promote positivity.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is a global mission. So when we work with different groups and advocate for different causes, we do strive to support causes that are affecting our brothers and sisters, whether it's in Ethiopia or Eritrea. And so we like to partner with people on the ground there to see how we can, provide support. This past summer, we were able to partner with a group and provide, support with a campaign to raise funds and support for people experiencing hardships with COVID-19. And so things like that, any way we can make a positive difference using our platform, we're here to do that. And we want to do that. And so, yeah, we also work to help and support our brothers and sisters in the US.
Absolutely. And I know most people probably know this by now, but Hannah, you started off as a TV reporter, like you said, and even in the newsroom, I feel like you made such an impact. I remember, like, as a journalist, being so inspired when you were on air with your Habesha traditional clothes, and you would have like segments. So this is something very, very, passionate, something that you're very passionate about. So how did you make that transition from, TV news to starting your own organization?
Yeah, I remember being in the newsroom, and I just remember telling stories. And, a lot of times when we work in the newsrooms in television broadcasts, we have to do all sorts of stories. We're on the front lines when it comes to disastrous stories, really, really brutal stories, and, stories that are really rough. And so I remember telling those stories on a regular basis, but I also had opportunities to host my own segment, as you mentioned. It was a segment called Going Global, where we were able to highlight different immigrants from around the world and their impacts in Southern Illinois, which to me was so awesome, because Southern Illinois, you don't really see a lot of that on TV. So to be able to do that was one of the biggest blessings I experienced in my career. And in addition to that, I started seeing, okay, well, I have the power to tell these stories here. And I would think to myself, well, what would happen if I took this passion and took this work ethic and applied it to my own independent storytelling platform? Because I'm working super hard here. I'm staying extra hours. I'm putting in all this work. Let me take this chance. Let me see what can happen. What's the worst that can happen? And I just felt like failure was not an option. And so for me, I took that leap. And 2 years later, here I am, still growing, still building, still putting all the pieces together. But I am thankful. And I feel like if something's in your heart, if you feel something, you got to have a plan at the same time. Like, you got to know, okay, well, I can rely on this. I have this set up. I have that set up. And then, you take that leap. So I think it was just being in a situation where I saw the potential to capture so many more stories, positive stories that highlight important causes. For me was like, okay, I gotta do more of this. And so that's sort of what led me to that.
Absolutely. And in such a short amount of time, like, you've already made it such an impact. You've held host events like across a couple different states, right? What was that experience like when you finally you have your dream, your vision, and then you make it happen? Like, what was that like for you?
It was really, really cool, honestly. I never thought that you could go on a tour to promote positivity. You see rappers going on tour, you see, artists and different things like that. And this tour was literally a tour to spread love and promote positivity. And we hit 8 states over the summer last year, which was incredible. And was super awesome because I got to see how we can use this this component of positivity to reach people in different ways. And we did that through workshops, through brunches, mixers, different facilitated events and stuff like that. And it was awesome because we reached older people, we reached younger people. It really brought different groups together, and to me that was so special, knowing that you can literally go on tour to do something positive in the community and reach different people. And it doesn't stop there. Once the pandemic is over, we plan on going back, so can't wait to do that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how has the pandemic affected those community efforts?
Well, we're not traveling, as you can imagine. So, we were looking forward to expanding internationally and traveling abroad. But at this point, obviously, we've held off on those efforts. But it transformed. This summer we saw a need to help in areas, whether it's providing COVID relief or fighting for justice, and so it took on a different form. I think we saw where we could best serve our community, and that entailed, as really being on the streets and providing relief in whatever way we can. So even though we weren't doing our pop-up tour, we still were reaching communities in just a different way.
Yeah, and there's also, always a virtual aspect that you could incorporate too. So that's good. So,
Yeah.
and speaking of, getting out in the streets, helping the community, this summer was a very intense summer, very tense summer for our country and just for our people, especially, after the George Floyd murder and the protest that sparked after that. And, you were out in the streets protesting. What was that summer like for you?
Yeah, the summer was all about fighting. It was all about pushing, all about doing whatever we could to fight for racial justice, to fight to end racism and discrimination, and fight for equity and equality. And for us, it was, you don't really know what situations you're going to be in. I did not think going into the summer that, I would be on the streets for weeks, helping lead protests. It just happened. You see what's going on. I think everyone in this world is changed by what happened, whether it's for the good or whether it's for the bad. But we all saw what was happening. We're at a moment in time where everybody's at home, everybody's looking at their phones, everybody's, on social media, like really processing what's happening. And so nobody could turn a blind eye, and we certainly couldn't. So when that went down, I remember being at home the first night of protests, watching what was going on TV. And, I'm tuning into local news stations here in Atlanta, and I'm just looking at our city, and I'm like, whew, police cars were set on fire, all kinds of stuff were happening. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is that Friday night. I'm like, I got to get out there. I'm gonna go out there tomorrow, because this is the city that raised me, this is our community. And so I understand we're going to fight for justice, but we also want to make sure we try and provide a safe space and take care of our brothers and sisters, And I remember listening to Tamika Mallory, and she was like, sometimes we need some of the older folks to get out there and be with our younger people. They just sometimes need a little bit of guidance, while we're out there. I never led protests, but something in my heart was like, I need to get out there. So that next day I got out there, and oh my goodness, I just remember there was a situation where we were in front of the National Guard. It got really heated. While we're like kind of in this confrontation, there's another group up the street getting pepper sprayed and maced and like running and all this stuff. And we're just trying to de-escalate the situation we were in. And I saw that night how powerful de-escalation is. And we were able to, me and like a few other people that I randomly met that night, we were able to kind of like de-escalate our area and just say, you know what? Let's come back tomorrow. Us getting into a fight with the National Guard in downtown Atlanta is not going to help us get back out here the next day to be able to continue pushing and fighting for justice. This fight is not going to end in 24 hours. We need to be here for the long term. So that was kind of the message we shared, and it was received. Everybody was like, okay, so we kind of dispersed. And I saw the power of, working with our community to create a safe space where we could protest, raise our voices, still be mad, still be angry, still be passionate, but also make it home in one piece. And so the next day, we're talking it over, and a bunch of people were like, oh, I really want to go out there and protest and this and that, people I grew up with here in Atlanta. And so I said, let's go ahead and create a protest, so we'll organize one, promote positivity movement. We'll organize one. We'll see what happens. And we're thinking about 200 people are going to come out, just because our network and our friends. 2,000 people came out. And when I say it was like, wow, I will never forget that day. And since then, we've taken it upon ourselves to be one of just a leader in this movement with our community, you know, working with other leaders to provide a little bit of guidance, to provide spaces to fight, spaces to advocate, and more importantly, safe spaces, because we had kids out there, we had grandparents out there, we had people with disabilities out there. So we wanted to make sure everyone will make it home while we continue to fight. And that ended up leading to 50 days of nonstop protesting downtown. And then we eventually switched over to a virtual setting where we still meet every day at 7 p.m. to fight and to raise awareness and to talk about ways we can continue to make a difference.
Wow. And that's so important what you said about like you a safe space, because we are, you know, we're angry, we're upset, we're fed up, we're tired, but we also have to keep our head on straight so we can live to fight another day. That's kind of what the biggest issue I think a lot of people were kind of facing this summer, because it's like you have every right to be upset, you have every right to want to, you know, just retaliate, but it's like we got to keep our a clear focus. So that's really important that you were able to facilitate that within with your protests. And so, and you said that, did you collaborate with other organizations as well?
Yeah, we did. We got to meet. I'm just being out there protesting. I got to connect with leaders of NAACP Atlanta. I got to connect with leaders from other organizations, other groups. There's now a group that formed this summer called Justice for Georgia. So we've been able to do some work with them. And it's like, if we were not out there protesting, we would never have met so many of these amazing people. And so, you know, protesting really is a form of mobilizing. You get to mobilize, you get to meet your people, you get to make these connections. And so, yeah, we definitely connected with a lot of groups where we still stay in touch. We still, you know, are working together in different ways. And I think we understand now this has to be a part of our fight for the rest of our lives. You know, while every organization has their mission, right, has their pillars, right, racial equality, justice, equity, those things need to be a part of everyone's foundation. Even if it's not clearly written on your site or, you know, in your mission statement, we all have to work to do our part, because otherwise we're not going to achieve that. And so our ancestors and the greats that came before us brought us to this point. And it's just, it really was an awakening, a moment of realization to see that, you know what, whatever you do in whatever field, whatever space you're in, this has to be a part of you know,
It,
our platforms.
it truly is a lifelong journey. What other lessons or did you learn from this experience with the protesting? Like, what other things clicked for you that maybe you didn't see before?
Oh my God. It's, I think understanding that people are going to be angry, people are going to be mad. We're all mad and passionate. And it's like we all want to channel that in some shape or form. And I think one thing we have to realize is that we're going to channel that in different ways. You know,
Mhm.
so I think this summer, as we were talking, we learned that it's going to look different for different people. And so, you know, Martin Luther King Jr., we all know that, you know, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he was out there, you know, protesting and being out there, but he's made it clear that everybody wasn't out there with him. You know, it wasn't, everybody was playing a different role. So even in the civil rights era, every single person in this country that cared about the cause was not out on the streets. And that is okay. There's
Yeah.
room for everybody. Not everybody needs to be out on the streets. You know, there's a time and a place. And so I think this summer really, like, I think I knew that, but it helped me articulate it better, and also helped me, you know, preach that message that we're going to each play our role, you know, not to compare ourselves, not to feel bad that, oh, you've been doing this and I haven't been doing nothing. No, you are doing something. You doing this, you doing that, you know, and we all are playing our role. And I feel like I saw that in so many forms this summer. And it was beautiful to see people finding their lanes and knowing that we all can make a difference together.
And I'm glad you said that, because that's another realization that I came to this summer. Like, I truly believe we all have our own forms of activism, especially like as a Black person, whether, you know, whether you become the valedictorian at your school, or you know, run for some office, or, you know, you donate to an organization, or you're out in the streets protesting. We all have our own forms of activism. So it's important that we just do what we can to push the needle further. And so, yeah, because, you know, sometimes I notice a little bit of bickering within our communities where we're just like, you know, blaming someone, or just, you know, pointing fingers at the way someone does their form of activism. But like you said, like we all are playing a part. Not everyone needs to be in the streets. Some people you know, if you have money, put your money where your mouth is and donate, you know? So yeah, I truly believe that as well. And with that, you know, like I said, it seems like we all, it's such a fight that we're having to put up to move the needle. So for me, I really reflected on, you know, our civil rights leaders in the past, and I just really felt for them. Like, what must that have felt like for them on a mental health standpoint to keep fighting and fighting and fighting, knowing that you were only going to do so much change or maybe no change. So what was that like for you when you were out you know, being an activist, you know, this summer? Like, did that kind of get into your mental frame at all? Like, did that kind of mess with your, you know, mental health?
It definitely did mess with the mental health. Like, whew, whew. I just remember the first week, especially, you know, de-escalating situations that could have gone super violent.
Yeah.
You know, going through those experiences, I kid you not, I would come home, I would try and sleep. I would not be able to sleep. All I would hear is like, I could just hear cars honking,
Mhm.
people chanting, people yelling, stomping, tear gas. I can hear that as I'm trying to sleep, and it's dead silent in my room.
Yeah.
Dead silent. And it was weird. You know, just having these moments, and then I would sleep, and then I will wake up having like a panic attack, like thinking that, you know what I mean? Like we're out in this situation. And so it's like, I think the first couple of weeks while we were organizing and doing protests, I was experiencing a lot of that. But I think as time went by, I kind of like that kind of like went away, which I was really happy about, you know, especially once we got a better grip of everything. Cause I think the first few nights it was mayhem, you know, people are out there, we're all angry, everybody's trying to figure it out. And so, yeah, once we got into the groove of things, it definitely got a little better. And I think it's just also we're in the middle of a pandemic, so you know people are we're afraid to get sick, we're afraid to get, you know, we don't want people bringing a sickness back to their houses. This is like all these things you're thinking about. So I just remember I remember being definitely stretched thin and losing weight because I didn't have an appetite, I didn't want to eat, I didn't want to sleep. I just every day I was like, I gotta get out there, gotta get back out there, gotta get back out there, gotta get back out there every day, you know, because that's where I felt like my charge was and my heart was, and that's where we were, you know. So in hindsight, I think if I could have went back, I probably would have tried to maybe do a little bit more for myself during those first couple of weeks, even
Yeah.
though I was able to overcome it. I think it was just like not a good space I was in, you know. And so even like I was talking to my brothers and sisters, like just being really open about my feelings and letting them know. So that really helped me, having an outlet to get it out and talk. But I just feel like if I could have incorporated a little bit of yoga or a little bit of stretching or a little bit of something, because yeah.
Yeah, no, I can definitely relate to that. You saying that you weren't able to sleep, like that same thing with me. Like, you know, and being, you know, a journalist, like you're constantly surrounded by it. So I didn't never felt like I could turn off the news or turn off the TV and just like do my own thing, because I felt like, no, I have to be informed. I have to know. Not only do I need to know what's going on right now, I need to go down this dark rabbit hole of every single injustice that has ever happened to Black people, because I need to be informed, you know? And although I was trying to do my part, like it really was messing with my health, because I couldn't sleep. I wasn't listening to music. I didn't want to do anything fun. Like I was just like, who cares about what I feel when, you know, there's so much bad things going on or whatever. So, but yeah, and even me, like I had to get a therapist and, you know, my therapist told me like, you can't fight this injustice if you are not okay, you know?
Yep.
So yeah, my form of therapy, I guess, well, I had a therapist, but I also, like would just I watched The Office. So
Mm-hmm.
random, but I watched The Office because it was just pointless and it wasn't like triggering, you know? So that's
Mm-hmm.
what I did. But yeah, like you really do have to keep that in check so that you can live to fight another day. Um,
Amen.
so yeah,
Amen to
but
that.
I hope you're getting that now that things seem to
Yeah.
be a little calm, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. It's way different now. We've, you know, focused on like long-term strategy, really taking time to meet, still meet. We still meet every day, but we meet virtually. So we still have our protests going on more than 150 days since we started in May. And it's like we just made it a point, you know, every day we want to touch base. We want to at least check in, share. Maybe there's a new petition we can sign. Maybe there's a new bill. Maybe there's a new piece of legislation that we need to look into. And so yeah, just continuing to do that. And then even for myself, like, you know, I was really distancing myself from my best friends and like, you know, my close friends and everything. And so the past month I've taken it, you know, I've seen them, you know, we've been able to hang out a little bit more. We've been able to get excited about little things. I remember posting a picture on social media or something. It was like on my story, on my Instagram story. And I had did my hair. This was like 2 months after protesting. I finally like did my hair. I put a little bit of makeup on and I posted a picture and I was like, you know, finally did my hair for the first time in a long time. Or no, finally did my hair for the first time this summer or something like that. And somebody had messaged me back and was like, Hannah, summer's over. It's fall. And I was like, oh, all right. So I think it's, you know, I didn't even realize that I spent the whole summer, you know, so dedicated, because when you're in it, you're not even thinking what season you're in, what you're just going. So now I think that since things have slowed down, we've been able to regroup, you know, re-strategize and think more so like long term, and understanding that this is a long-term fight and there's so many ways to do it. We've been able to do other initiatives with helping people downtown experiencing hardships and, you know, providing relief in different ways. So we know that this fight is multifaceted and there's different ways to approach it. So and you know, I'd be remiss if I did not thank every single person who poured into our movement, who poured into our initiatives. I'm telling you, people couldn't make it because obviously COVID and they live with their parents or whatever the case is, but they're like, hey, we can't make it, but we want to send money for the protesters' dinner tonight. Or we want to send money to make sure every protester has an Uber or a ride home. Or we want to send drinks. Or we had a few restaurants that, you know, brought food for us. We had people who brought blowhorns for us, who bought posters for us, markers, masks, you know, PPE. It was just coming left and right. So it was just so beautiful to see like all of that. And so thank you to every person who either like contributed it or showed up or any form, because it really made a difference.
Absolutely. Wow. I'm so happy to hear that. And like you were saying, that the fight doesn't stop, right? And another form of fight, I guess you could say, is voting, right? Speaking of the upcoming election. And so have you been focusing a lot on informing, you know, the public on, you know, voting resources and things like that? Is that kind of the pivot that you've taken now these last couple of weeks?
That is absolutely the pivot we've taken the last couple of weeks. You know, we went from protesting to policy to pushing voting. You know, it was just this perfect transition because it all is tied together. You know, we have to understand that the energy we had on the streets is the same energy we need to be applying on our local lawmakers, and that's the same energy we need to be applying at the polls. And so it all runs hand in hand. And so we're wanting to make sure people are educated and know, don't just vote, but vote early. That was a huge push that we did with our community here. And even just like the broader community, sharing it, making it look fun, making it look like something that is simple. And I mean, and in some cases there were long lines, but in other cases, some people were in and out in 15, 20 minutes, you know? So we really wanted to encourage people to vote early. So we were pushing that out. A lot of people reached out to us and they were saying, you know, I voted for the first time because of y'all, or, you know, I voted early, or they're texting us their pictures or sending us their images. And it made us so proud, you know, to see that the message was well received and that we're making a difference as a collective, you know? And so we've been doing everything from online campaigns to actually we did an in-person social distancing event this past week. And the message was not just to vote early, but to vote informed, right? Because how many times do we go into a ballot and we're like, whew, there's a lot on this list that I was not expecting, you know? And it's time to change that. Our election centers offer us a resource to be able to download a sample ballot before we go to the booth. So we all should be making that a habit. Every single one of us, every election, whether it's the presidential or a local, we should download that sample ballot, review it. And there's even a program in Georgia, or a platform rather, it's called Branch, and it's a free tool that breaks down the ballot for Georgians, and it makes it so digestible, so easy to use. So we were pushing that out, and they are amazing. We had friends that reached out to us and they were like, oh my God, we use Branch and it helped us out so much, and all that, because again, we can't just go in and vote. We need to know what we're voting on, who we're voting on, and know that we're making informed and educated and empowered decisions. And so that's also another angle that we were pushing, to vote early and to vote informed and to vote safely, PPE, you know.
Yeah, of course, yes. And so vote early and vote informed. That is very powerful, especially, this election. I mean, every election it's always important because but I'll admit, like even me, this is my first election where I really paid attention to all of the names on the ballot. And it's kind of
Mhm.
almost kind of a shame that it took this long, but it better now than, than
Yeah,
never.
and you do not have to feel ashamed. I mean, we're the same way, and I'm very open and honest about that as well. The first time I ever really reviewed a sample ballot was when I was 28 years old, and that was when we had a gubernatorial race going on, and there was other things happening as well. But I thought I was like, this is the first time I've ever done this at 28, and so we want to change those habits. We want our younger people, even people who are older who've never done it, just to get into the habit of going onto that Secretary of State website and just click that button, review sample ballot, and then review it. Spend like 5 to 10 minutes researching. You can make it fun. You can have virtual Zoom parties, throw in some wine, throw in some music, and make it fun.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, so that was my first time doing that for this election, and I feel I'm excited that I went in informed, this time
Yeah.
around.
It's
So
a good feeling. It feels good, right?
it does, and so now we have an election is now 2 days away. How are you feeling about that? Like
Whew.
but I mean, I don't think we're gonna know, who the president is in 2 days, but it's here.
It is here. It is here. It's exciting and it's also nerve-wracking. I think a lot of people feel the same way with this these feelings of a little bit of anxiety or anticipation. I think that's a very normal feeling. I would definitely encourage nobody to don't run away from it. It's here. We're feeling it, and I think a lot of us are feeling it together. That's one thing we need to recognize. And that's okay. So I feel like I have not been paying attention to the polls, just because I don't want to look and see, oh, one day it's this, one day it's that, because it kind of just makes you feel uneasy. So I've been avoiding looking at the polls, and I've just been focusing on doing whatever I can to get people charged up, to make sure people are tracking their sample ballots if they submitted it, to make sure that our votes are being counted, to make sure we're feeling encouraged, and so that's where my role is, I feel like, in this moment. And I am certainly looking forward to the finish line, but it's only the finish line of the November 3rd election. It's the beginning for the rest of the work we have to do.
Yeah.
So I definitely feel like pushing that message and encouraging people, like, look, if this week, do something for yourself. I'm going to the hair salon this week. I'm doing something for myself, okay? Because we need to treat ourselves. We need to make sure no matter what happens, something's going to happen. Something is going to happen November 3rd. We don't know which way it's going to go. We have to make sure that we're feeling holistic and we have a foundation that we can stand on as people, because regardless of what happens, we gonna keep moving. We gonna keep living our lives. We gonna keep making a difference in this world. So I think just encouraging people to know that whatever happens, we got this. We got this.
And whatever happens, like, did you do your part? If you voted, if you did your part, if you voted informed and safe, then you did all that you could do. And but like you said, the work does not end here.
It sure
whatsoever.
doesn't.
Yeah, because with this election, it's not a landslide in either direction in terms of like who it could be. Like it really could be either or. So
And either way it goes, whatever person gets put into the position, we got to hold them accountable, whoever it is, from the top to the bottom, from the president to the vice president, to our local lawmakers, to our senators, to our state representatives, across the board. And Georgia's in a very unique situation this year, having 2 Senate seats up for grabs. And so this is a huge year for Georgia. And regardless of which way it goes, we got to hold them accountable, just like we would if it was 2 people you didn't agree with or 2 people you do agree with. Either way, that energy has to be the same.
yeah. So that's the next step for you, right? So we're gonna wait for this election, and then after that, it's back to the drawing board for you to see how are we gonna hold people accountable.
Yes, definitely. We will be emailing them. We will be showing up to their office with signs. we will be we will be out there. Like I said, this is something that I think we've embedded in our mission for forever, knowing that all of us have to work together to achieve racial equality and equity and justice. Otherwise, we're not going to see it. And so in whatever form we can, however you do it, there's so many different ways, like we were talking about. You can donate, you can use your platform, you can sign a petition, you can show up to events, you can protest, you can do your part in your job, you can advocate. there's so many lanes, so many ways to do it. And so we just know that we have to keep pushing, and also focus on our community, like see what the needs are, how we can help, how we can assist. I think during this season of elections, we have focused a lot on voting, but we also want to focus on, other causes that are affecting our people and our friends and our families. Like when we think about October was Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so we were able to do a couple of virtual events, but, really tapping back into that type of work as well, to be able to amplify causes that are affecting our people.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. The work does not stop. And I can't wait to see, the work that you will continue to put in to promote positivity on a national, global scale. I'm rooting for you. We're all rooting for you.
Thank you,
And
sis.
yeah, and you're truly very inspiring to watch, and that's why I'm so happy that I was able to talk to you today. And I just can't wait to see you, thrive and keep making a difference. Do you
Thank you,
have
sis.
anything to leave us off with, like any advice or suggestions, or just any inspirational thought you'd like to share for our viewers?
Yeah, first of all, I just want to thank you. You are also an inspiration. Nebraska, y'all better know who y'all have. Okay, this queen, okay, making history and really doing the darn thing. So I'm incredibly proud of you, and always, in your corner cheering for you. And so really, to anybody watching this, I'm gonna just share the message we always share. When you hear us say promote positivity, promote positivity, promote positivity, what does that mean? It means that we are going to continue to push forward. It means that we are going to continue to hold on to hope through the ups and the downs. Promoting positivity does not mean everything is perfect. It does not mean everything is all good, gravy, rainbows, and butterflies. Absolutely not. But it just means that we understand that there's work to do, and that we're going to stay committed to achieving a better world for our people, achieving a better world for our generation, achieving a better world for the future generations coming up behind us. And so I think understanding that we can all promote positivity in our space, in our world, and it's going to look different. It's going to look different, regardless of what it looks like. It's making a difference. So find that way, find that lane, find that path in your life of how you can promote positivity, and do it, and stay committed to it, and know that you're not perfect. I'm not perfect. None of us are perfect. We don't got to be perfect. We just have to be the best selves that we can be. And from there, we just keep pushing, keep marching, keep moving. Remember the strength of our ancestors. Remember the strength of those who came before us when you start to feel a little down. Don't be afraid to take time to yourself. Don't be afraid to unplug. Don't be afraid to do something that makes your soul smile. We need your soul to be smiling at a time like this, because it's hard and we're hurting, and sometimes we need to treat ourselves with that joy that we deserve. Too many people fought for us to get to this point, for us to be struggling in misery. And I think that we have to help each other. We have to uplift each other. How can we do that? How can we bring a smile to somebody? How can we bring some hope to somebody? How can we bring some positivity to somebody? So we just encourage you to keep pushing, to keep fighting, and in whatever way you can, promote positivity in your world.
In your own way. Yes, I love that. Thank you so much. And how can we find you? Give us all your platforms.
Absolutely. So please stay connected. Of course, you can follow the movement page at Promote Positivity Movement. And then you can follow my page as well with our media company, Hannah Joy TV, across all platforms. That's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of that jazz. And we also have awesome merch, as you can see. So we donate a percentage of that to groups helping the community. So if you want to take part in that, definitely check us out. The links are in my bio, in Hannah Joy TV's bio. So definitely check that out, and stay connected.
Thank you so much. And yes, I'm gonna have to cop one of those hats because those look really cool.
Thanks,
Love
Boo.
the hearts. Thank you so
Oh,
much. Oh,
appreciate you.
yes.
Oh, yeah, no. I was just going to say, we do have a new collection dropping in about a week. So, given the times that we're living in, we need to sprinkle a little bit more positivity in this world. So, we're dropping a new collection in a couple weeks. So, less than a couple weeks. So, stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned. Yes. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Mwah.